All right, guys, this time we're going to talk about some of the colonial governments that were set up. So the English colonists brought with them the idea of limited government. Colonists believed that they too enjoyed the rights guaranteed in the English Bill of Rights, and we're going to look at that in a couple seconds. The founders followed the English system of law as described by Sir William Blackstone, and the colonists believed in representative government, such as Britain's Parliament. Enlightenment ideas of government as a social contract and of people's natural rights influenced colonial thinking. So let's look at the English Bill of Rights. So this is the king and queen. You can see the crown right there. So in 1688, Parliament supported an invasion of Britain by William of Orange and his wife Mary and their army of Dutch soldiers. In the Glorious Revolution, King James II fled Britain, and the new monarchs took power without bloodshed. So that's William and Mary. The year after William and Mary took power, Parliament enacted the English Bill of Rights. Through this document, the new monarchy recognized the power of Parliament in English law. Now remember, Britain's Parliament is like our Congress. The English Bill of Rights states that James II attempted to destroy the power of Parliament and took ruthless, illegal actions. The English Bill of Rights begins by listing the abuses of King James II. This list of grievances is similar to the list of abuses of King George III in the Declaration of Independence. So remember, come on, computer. Remember, these are our 13 colonies. Georgia wasn't even all of Georgia. None of the states except for the very northeast had all of what they would eventually have, all the property that they would eventually have. So you can see the state lines very faintly of what they are now. South Carolina was almost there. Virginia. Maryland even lacked a little bit. Pennsylvania. You got Delaware, New Jersey, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and Maine that all had their property. New York was about half of what it will be. So let's look at English legal and political thought. So Sir William Blackstone believed that the law of nature, as found in the Bible, is perfect and supreme, and no human law should be made to contradict it. He states this law of nature, dictated by God himself, is of course superior in obligation to any other. It is binding all over the globe, in all countries, and at all times. No human laws are of any validity. If contrary to this, and much of them are as valid, derive all of their force and all their authority from this original. Then we have Thomas Hobbes. He believed that the natural state of man is war. People live in fear of each other, which is why man is willing to trade individual liberty for the security of living in a society under government. He stated in Leviathan, hereby it is manifest that during the time men live without a common power to keep them all in awe, that means subdued or submissive, they are in that condition which is called war, and such a war as is of every man against every man. And then we have John Locke. He believed that men are born equal and given rights that cannot be denied. No man may be taken from his property, his life forfeit, and subjected to the authority of a government without his consent. He said in his second treatise of government, men being, as has been said by nature, all free, equal, and independent, no one can put out of this estate and subjected to the political power of another without his own consent. That means he can't, none of this can happen without him to agree to it. And now I'm going to show you a video of the Magna Carta, which was really one of the first documents of law, country laws.
Magna Carta is one of the most famous.
Hold on.
Magna Carta is one of the most famous documents in English history. But when you actually read it, it can be rather disappointing. It has no stirring statements about the rights of man or all men being created equal. In fact, it has rather more to say about fish weirs on the Thames and inheritance tax. But in the midst of all this detail, a few clauses still ring out a clear message.
No free man shall be seized, imprisoned, dispossessed, outlawed, exiled, or ruined in any way, nor shall we attack him except by the lawful judgment of his peers and the law of the land.
Or this:
to no one will we sell, deny, or delay right or justice.
The reverberations of this crucial clause are with us to this day. When we debate whether we can justify imprisoning terrorist suspects for 28 days or 56 days or 90 days, we're referring back to the principles in this document sealed by John in 1215. It was a revolutionary moment. Royal whim would no longer decide the fate of a subject. Magna Carta was the beginning of an irreversible process, the shifting of power away from the king towards his subjects. Inside this building is an enormous chamber, known at the time as the most capacious room in Christendom. It was here that the king gathered his most powerful men when he needed to discuss matters of importance: war, inheritance, relations with the church. And it was these conversations that gave this new institution its name, from the French word parler, to talk. This is Westminster Hall, the heart of the Palace of Westminster, the birthplace of the English Parliament. Westminster Hall has been in continuous use for 900 years. Medieval kings took advice here from favoured lords and clergy. What we think of today as Parliament, a place where laws are made, evolved here. Not because medieval monarchs wanted democracy, but because they needed cash. In the 13th century, a series of expensive wars meant the king had to increase taxes, everybody's taxes. To avoid open revolt, he had to open up these assemblies to others beyond earls and barons, to those a little bit further down the social scale, eventually including members of the emerging merchant class. From such prosaic necessity was democracy born.
So the Magna Carta was done in 1215, and it limited the power of the king. So this is when you first started to see power shift into the hands of the people. So each colony in the in what would be the United States had its own government, with a governor, a legislature, and a court system. The colonies operated under written constitutions or charters, which established the colony's government. Although the structure of legislators varied from colony to colony, they played a major role in each colony. So let's look at one that was important during the writing of the Constitution. So the Virginia House of Burgesses. From 1619 to 1643, the democratically elected Virginia Burgesses sat with the governor and his council. After 1643, the Burgesses became the lower house of the Virginia General Assembly. So it's like their Congress is starting. The House of Burgesses was composed of 2 representatives from each Virginia county. When members of the House of Burgesses began to oppose British policies in the years before the American Revolution, the royal governor dissolved it in 1774. So he just got rid of the government entirely, or their involvement in the government. Many of America's founders obtained early experience in lawmaking as members of the House of Burgesses. Included among them were George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and Patrick Henry. We're going to hear more about them later. So that's it for this week. So go into your Canvas and make sure that you complete the reading essentials, the discussion question, the quiz, and the module assigned for today.